Here we go. Welcome, everybody.
Hello and welcome to our monthly broadcast, looking at the energies through the astrological matrix and also through the human design matrix to bring you up-to-date information about how the energies are moving, what they can mean for us, and how we can make the best use of them. We're broadcasting on September 21st, and we want to offer a warm welcome to all of you. Many of you have been with us for a long time, and you come every month, and some of you might be brand new, and we want to just warmly welcome you to our community.
And you are?
I am Carola Eastwood.
And I'm Chetan Parkyn. Welcome, everybody. So join us for this very interesting month, end of the month of September and going into the month of October.
Right. Okay. So we're starting out, we're broadcasting here on the 21st. We're starting out just before the autumnal equinox. And we realize that those of you who are in the southern hemisphere, this is not the beginning of your autumn. It's actually the beginning of your spring. You're still on an equinox, and the energies will read very much the same. So please bear with us on that and know that we're happy to have all of you Southern Hemisphere people with us too. Okay, so one thing that happens on this day, today, the 21st, we have a third quarter moon. So that third quarter moon is the follow-on from the last full moon that we had in the middle of September. So it's the opportunity for us to begin to wrap up all the things that were important for us to get done while the sun was making its transit through Virgo. And when the sun's in Virgo, we're in a process of refinement. We're taking all the creativity that came out of the Leo transit in late July and August, and we're bringing that to Earth. We're giving it some form. We're giving it some practical expression, and probably putting it through a bit of a critical look at, well, is this really going to work? Does it need refinement? Does it need changing? Does it need improvement? That sort of thing. Now that we come out to heading to the autumnal equinox, the entire story is going to change once again. So the equinox happens on the 23rd, early in the morning on the 20th. It's like just like an hour after midnight Pacific time. And that is basically it's a time when the days and the nights are of equal length. It's a time for finding balance and also for determining value. What really has value for us? It's a time of weighing up our options. The equinox happens just after the third quarter moon. That's today, the 21st. And the third quarter is, as I said, it's about getting a cycle wrapped up, but not just about getting it wrapped up, but really deriving value from that cycle. Here's what we see over the next week, starting from now for going about a week forward, that both Venus, which is the planet that has to do with our values, love, relationships, our appreciation of beauty, and all the yummy things in life, and Mercury, which is the planet that has to do with communication and connection into the world, both of them traveling together in the sign of Libra. They're well placed there. But at this point, at this juncture, they're also in a right angle with the moving soul path for all humanity. So they're bringing us to a point of like a turning point, especially a turning point in our personal or in our business relationships. And looking at the value of our friendships and the quality of our communication. So refinement of what really has value for us now, what relates to our path, what relates to this phase of our life, what we're really up to in life now. And making some choices about what you'll stay with and bring forward into the new cycle, and what you may just let go of because it's no longer useful. We'll be making choices about, how we need to proceed. And those choices ideally are going to be guided by vision, our higher vision. So Neptune in its own home sign of of Pisces. Neptune's our awareness of our spirituality, in a very practical linking aspect with Saturn and Pluto and Capricorn, saying, bring all those wonderful, lofty ideals down to earth and give them a form and make them useful. So ideally, we're going to be guided in life by our vision, our clarity, and of course, our clarity, as you know, we teach, comes from, in part, we can access it easily by understanding how to live with our human design authority, how to make decisions that are always going to be the right decisions for us when we access the part of our being that gives us our truth, gives us access to our truth. So that's my overview of where we are right now, here finishing up the month of September. Over to you.
All right. So from the human design perspective, we've just had the sun go into gateway number 46. And it's always an interesting time of the year when we come into this equinox time. The 46 gives us this remembrance of how vital it is to be in touch with our body. Because it is our body that carries us through our life, and the body takes us into situations and out the other side of them. So to me, it's the indication of the kind of beginning of a healing season, in a way, of replenishing the body, perhaps doing a detox, doing a revitalization of diet and exercise and things like that. So this is always the situation. There's always this turning point at the equinox anyhow, but it's kind of turning our attention more towards looking out for ourselves. Just as a backdrop of what's going on in the outer planets at the moment, those slower moving planets, the three outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, are all in an apparent backwards motion at the moment. So they're covering ground that's been already covered earlier on in the year. The planet Pluto is in gateway number 54, and it spent a lot of time in the last 3 years in this particular gateway. This is the last time for the next 250 years it's going to be in there. And the 54 is the gateway of ambition. It's the gateway of that kind of exercises the energy within us that wants to get ahead. And so we're kind of just reevaluating at the moment as we enter into this fall season in the Northern Hemisphere, the spring season in the Southern Hemisphere. We're reevaluating, what it is that really we could recognize as an urge for us to express something that is unique to us. The planet Neptune, going backwards also, apparently, as we view it from planet Earth. And it has receded back into gateway number 63. And again, it spent all of 2018 in this gateway, and this is the gateway of doubts. So when we're talking about the planet Neptune, we're talking very much about our spiritual inclinations and, our connection to the unknowable in a way, things that can't necessarily be known on the Earth plane. And so going back into the 63, it's kind of reacquainting itself with, are we clear in our spiritual qualities and the values and what we're kind of really holding in high esteem for ourselves? Is it essential for us to be part of a religion? And if so, what does that religion have to do for us? How does it have to make us feel like we're really connected here into our spirit nature? And then the planet Uranus is going backwards, apparently, as viewed from here, and it's going back through this gateway number 27. And the 27 is the gateway of nourishment. And so it's spending most of 2019 in this gateway. And it's questioning, are we nourishing ourselves in ways that are really good for us? Not only what we're eating, what our diet is and things like that. Are we taking sufficient exercise? Are we getting our nose out of our phone screen often enough? Do we actually have a life? Do we engage with people that bring great resources of fun and engagement and fulfillment to our lives? Are we in company that really gives us the great support? Is our house supporting us? Is our work supporting us? This kind of thing. So we're all in that position now of just really having another look at what it is that nurtures us in our life, who it is that nurtures us, and are we taking time to nurture ourselves? And then I look at the planet Saturn, which is also one of the slower moving planets, takes about 20 odd years, 29 years to go around us. And it's in gateway number 38. And this is the gateway we call opposition. And, sometimes in your life, you come to a situation, you just say, I'm not going to put up with this. This does not meet my standards. And that's what Saturn is going through at the moment. It's in this gate of opposition. It's just basically saying there are certain things in life that do not come up to muster for me. And I have to review and see, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to get wholly involved in opposing it? Or am I going to just recognize this is something I don't need to be involved with? I'm going to sidestep it. And the emphasis of Saturn being in this particular gateway is this South Node destiny, what you call the destiny point for humanity, where we're coming from as a humanity, is also in exactly the same gate. So Saturn, we might say, it's our life's lessons, our meditations, our shadow side. What are the things inside ourselves that we're not particularly comfortable with that need exposure or need clarification? And so a lot of the agendas that we've been running as a humanity are basically up for grabs. They're up for reevaluation, and let's see, can we do something really differently here? Yeah.
And I would add reevaluation and transformation. We're going to see that energy coming in here at the end of the month, at the end of September. We have a new moon on September 28th. So that's going to set the stage for a whole new cycle, a new 30-day cycle. And in that cycle, we're going to see some powerful kind of change points that we come to. It's not an easy cycle, or it's not a flowing cycle. It's a cycle that's calling us to truly step up in perhaps some profound ways, like we never have before. So it's really kind of heads up time. This is a really important time that we're heading into. It's pivotal for humanity. With this new moon, which initiates a new cycle. And remember that new cycle is informed by the equinox energies that just happened as we, that are happening as we speak now on the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, the equinox comes in. But as we get to the new moon on the 28th, those equinox energies that are happening now are very much embedded in that new moon. So it's actually the first opportunity that we have to begin expressing all that's been coming into our awareness since the equinox. So it initiates a new cycle. And the thing about this particular new moon is that it's opposite in the sky to Chiron. And Chiron is the planet that has to do with a form of healing, and the form of healing is the linking of the higher self and the lower self. So the spirit nature and the personality-driven self. So a way of finding concordance between and harmony between the personality self that we think of ourselves to be walking through this life on a daily basis with a particular name and identity, right? And the soul essence that is our eternal nature, that is truly orchestrating the entire lifetime and the entire journey. So it's a call to get aligned with our higher self, to align the personality and the soul so that we're not working at odds to ourselves. The sun and moon together at 5 degrees of Libra. So for those of you who have planets near that point, this is going to particularly be a big heads up for you. In addition to the opposition to Chiron that I just explained, the planet Uranus, which is the breaker of old form, it's the breakthrough planet that takes us up into whole new states of awareness, big realizations, huge ahas. Often it's a bit of a disturbing influence because it shakes up the status quo, and it gets our attention that way so that we can wake up. So that wake up in particular, and with this aspect, has to do with aligning with our own individual values. So are the values that we're living from in alignment with our spirit truth? That's the question of this time. Then we've also got Venus and Mercury still together as they have been since today, the 21st, moving together in the sign of Libra, well placed there, but now moving into a right angle, a big, what we call a square in astrology, to the planet Pluto, which is planet of transformation. So we're talking about the death and the rebirth of values, letting go of the old values so that something new can get born. And old values around what? Around our relationships, our interactions, and the quality of our interactions, and our communication in the world in general is going to go through a big, well, symbolic death and rebirth. So for something new to emerge, the old pattern has to break up and die away. And that's often uncomfortable, especially if we're resisting it and going kicking and screaming into the new understanding, which must get birthed in us. The other thing that's happening is that Venus and Mercury, these are the same two planets in Libra, are also in this very favorable aspect with Jupiter. Jupiter is a planet that has to do with expansion and growth. So when you've got, love relationships and money flow and love of beauty and artistic expression and ease in life, and you've got communication and ideas, and you link that with Jupiter, which is about high vision, you've got a lot of vision for new growth and expansion. It can be a very inspiring aspect. So we will also have that in the energy field of this time.
It's always fascinating to me that Carola has been working with astrology for 30 odd years now.
33.
And, just knows everything inside out about all the planets and the angles and stuff. And, describes things in a particular way according to certain planets and certain interactions. And then I look in a human design chart. I've been playing with human design for
25 years.
And some.
Okay.
And I see somewhat of the same qualities of what she's talking about, but with very different instances in the human design chart. So, for instance, what you were saying about our spiritual values at the moment, and I say, well, that's Neptune in the 63 in the area of doubts. Our whole spirituality is up for grabs in a sense of, are we really on track with something that really has meaning for us as a spirit in human form?
Yeah.
Fascinating thing about the full moon. Is it a full moon or new moon at the end of this month? New moon always kind of opens up a new possibility. I'm born myself under a full moon, and I've always been very sensitive to the movements of the moon. So it's always fascinating for me to see what are these particular areas of the chart that the moon does its number. So when the moon and the sun join together in the same part of the sky, we have a new moon. And it's happening in gateway number 18 this time. And gateway number 18 is a gateway that Chinese I Ching has called itself the work on what has been spoiled, implying that all of us get conditioned in early days in our life. And, what do we do about it? How do we find our way out of it? And so, some of the conditionings get deeply embedded in society. And we might say, there's a really strong patriarchal conditioning. That men rule the roost kind of thing. They rule the show. They're always in charge. They're always the boss. That's a patriarchal tradition. The king always has the last word. Forget about the queen. But anyhow, there's also matriarchal issues as well. And so this new moon is taking place in 18 with the second line. And the second line I call a very, very particular line. I call it honoring the goddess. And it's basically about us appreciating the power and the intelligence of the feminine. And I think all of us have to say there's a huge turnaround going on in the world at the moment. That, the male dominance and the kind of pillage of the planet Earth through industry and whatever it is else has been put together, it's not doing the world any good. That the global warming, however you want to look at it, climate change, the rising oceans, weather patterns, amongst other things, people having to migrate because they can't live where they've been living forever because the weather just doesn't support it anymore. So, what I'm talking about here is with this new moon, it's kind of opening a possibility for all of us to kind of recognize that the power of the feminine has to rise. If there's going to be balance on this planet, that has to happen. And it's not like men have to, downplay their role. It's like that, women have to raise their presence within us. And, we men have to really accept that. So it's not like women have to start behaving like men. Please don't. But it's just, to see that there has to be this balance that comes around. So I call it honoring the goddess, instill fears involving the power of the feminine. All of us have some kind of concern, whether it's we got something from our mother or from our father or something like that. And, it's about a time of really bringing about that balance, honoring the goddess. So what else is happening at this end of the month is all of us get by transit the channel, the 54. I was talking Pluto's in the 54, this ambition, what's rising up within us. And at this time, Mercury is in the 32. And so it's making this channel we call transformation. It's an opening of the entrepreneurial stream. So great time to be kind of looking at, seeing, is this something I really want to put out? And if so, then there's a lot of energy around it. And my communications of what it is I really want to do can rise. I can really speak out what it is I really am aiming myself, my entrepreneurial efforts towards. We're going to have a sequence of planets go through here. Venus and Mars are going to go through the 32. So this channel of transformation is going to turn on and off a number of times in these next weeks ahead. So over to you. Let's go into October and see what's going on.
All right. Well, let's move to the first quarter moon. So we had a new moon on the 28th of September, and then that builds up to the first quarter moon. So the new moon plants the seed for the new cycle, the new 30-day cycle. The first quarter moon is that first point of maximum, ideally effective action towards our new goals. And that first quarter moon on October 5th, to be exact, at 9:45 in the morning Pacific time. So that's like, it's sort of, all right, we're out of the starting gate. So the new moon gets us all lined up at the starting gate. And then that first quarter is like, the gun goes off and the gate's up and, it's time to take off and start action, being in action. So with the energies that are present at this first quarter moon, we see it's actually very dynamic. Like, I haven't seen this much dynamic energy all bunched up together in a while now.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
Yeah, tremendous amount of pressure. And one thing that we can say is that the moon will be conjoining on this day, on this first quarter, conjoining the planet Saturn in Capricorn. So moon and Saturn in Capricorn. So Saturn, remember, Chetan was saying, that's our karma. It's our it's our shadow side. It's the thing we most came to learn, to face, to heal, to accept, to work through. And of course, the moon is our feeling nature and our experience as we move through life. So we have this profound kind of look at, let's say, our karma, or what it is that we still need to work through in order to become what? In order to become more enlightened, more alive to ourselves, more effective in everything that we do, and ideally more in love with our lives. Now, at this first quarter moon, of course, the moon is in a right angle with the sun in Libra. And what that does is it creates this urgency to take action. But the action needs to be well considered and well planned action. So there's a drive to accomplish goals, and it's informed by Neptune in the sign of Pisces. So Neptune is our higher spiritual nature. It's that movement towards the divine, towards the ethereal, towards the sublime, and our desire for union. And it, as such, it inspires great works of art and great spiritual vision. So when we have together this drive to accomplish, and we have it linked favorably with Neptune, the result really can be that we're birthing a new vision for ourselves and for our life, which makes sense during this time. That's kind of what's up for everybody. The other thing supporting that at this time and for this week, the week of beginning October 5th, Mercury, the planet of communication, at 3 degrees of Scorpio, moved into now an exact opposition to the planet of Uranus. Remember, Uranus is the awakener to higher states of consciousness. It does so with often shocking events or big changes. So this opposition is potential. The potential of it is that it changes our mental orientation to open us to greater intuitive understanding. As long as we're trying to address the issues or the problems or the puzzle of life at the level of consciousness we've been at, we're not going to arrive at any successful conclusion. So we need to raise our awareness, which means access our higher mind, our intuitive mind, in order to truly and effectively address some of those complex problems that Chetan was mentioning earlier. So that's the energy of it all. If there's some shocking experiences, some things you learn that seem like a bolt out of the blue, then the whole process there is not to resist it. It's to learn from it, integrate it, and let it be your teacher. This is meant to be. Life is meant to be friendly and for your benefit. And lastly, at this time, we've got Mars having left. The planet Mars is our work in the world. So it's our profession, our career, our business. It's the way we make a living. And it's been in the sign of Virgo all this time, which is, that process of sorting and discovering what's going to be of value and what isn't, and refining, using our critical perception to plan. Now, when Mars goes into Libra, it's not the happiest in Libra, because Mars is an action-oriented planet. It wants to get things done. It wants to move things into action. And Libra's all about, well, let's all just hang out and
take it easy,
hug each other and sing Kumbaya and enjoy life. And, and so Mars, Mars is a little uncomfortable in that sign. Okay, it's not a bad thing. And it can be used in the highest way. It can be applying our creative energy to improving the quality of our relationships, or to create a new look in our wardrobe for ourselves, or to bring more beauty into our home or into our gardens, or to be more balanced and loving between our work life and our home life. So I'm not saying that it's a negative thing. It's just that Mars is a little unnatural in that sign. It's kind of like putting a man in a dress. There's just going to be a little discomfort there. Then they get to know what we women go through. Okay, so Mars in the earliest degree of Libra, forming an opposition to Chiron. Remember, Chiron is that linking of the higher self and the lower self. So that's calling us into an awakening into our higher purpose, and an awakening of our gifts, our talents, the ones that we have, and intrinsically, and new ways to apply them to our work, and those new ways specifically to be aligned with our soul essence and our higher purpose. That's the essence of these challenges, is to get us to that place, if we'll go there, because I've to us to go there, of that kind of alignment with our truth.
So looking at the human design perspective, as we get into the merry month of October, Pluto has done a turn. So it was going retrograde. It was retracing its steps back through this gateway number 54, this gateway of the ambition. What is the deep ambition that wants to find expression? And for the next 3 weeks, it's going to keep going forwards from our point of view, from energetic point of view, through this gateway number 54, before it goes back into the 61, this gateway where it's been in most of 2019 so far. And the 61 is this gateway of inner truth. So we have these 3 weeks where there's going to be a lot of interaction with that 54 gate. The personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, are all going to click in and out of the 32 on the other end, making that channel for us. So there's going to be these spurts of energy and activity and opportunity to express ourselves or draw to us or implement things that we really want to be involved in from this personal inner drive at the moment. What is also happening is these inner planets, these personal planets, are going to go through gateway number 50. And gateway number 50 is the gateway of values. It's one of the gateways in the spleen center. And I've been talking about the planet Uranus, one of these really slow-moving planets, is in the 27. So all of us are going to get action in this channel, the 5027, off and on for these next weeks. And this particular channel, it's all about, what are the values that really serve the well-being of everybody? How do people get taken care of? How do you take care of yourself, for example? But, and I said before, what do we give ourselves in terms of nourishment? Do we take time to go for a walk in the woods and explore nature? Do we do that? Or are we so attached to our screens that we really never kind of raise our head and remember the whole nature going on around us? So it's a great reminder, to be very much in touch with how we're taking care of ourselves, how we're taking care of our business, how we're taking care of people around us at this moment in time. What also is going to flash on and off every now and again is the channel 2838. So I was talking about the 38 before. This is the channel of opposition, where you literally come to a point, I'm not going to put up with this stuff anymore, and something needs to be done about this, or I'm going to find a perfect way to go around it all and just avoid it. And so planet Saturn, this planet that we were saying is karma and what we've got to deal with, and the South Node destiny for humanity is in 38. So it's a question of always looking at, are we respecting human rights? Let's put it like that. Does everybody get a fair shake here? Do I get a fair shake? Does everybody else around me get a fair shake? Or are the rules and regulations and situations and stumbling blocks that really hold everybody up? And on the other end of this, the 28 is going to happen off and on. So we're going to get this whole channel. Again, the personal planets are going to go through there. So we're going to see how much we're involved in human rights, in whether people are being served in a way as honorably as they can be as a human being here. So there really is this shift on many, many levels shaking up. You see, we're going into this Aquarian age now. There's no turning back. There's no going back to anything that was playing out before.
Although there's quite an attempt to do so by certain segments of our society.
It's a normal reaction.
Yeah, it is. It's change.
Some people, they're stuck in traditions and ways of doing stuff, and they're just not going to work in the times that are coming. I mean, we're watching all these new developments take place, let alone the technology that's happening. There's no going back. So the brakes can go on. Some people can take 1 or 2 steps back. Sooner or later, everything's going to get swept forward. And the thing of it is, if you recognize the nature of the Aquarian age and the symbol, one of the symbols for it, the 2 waves together, as above, so below. Whatever we hold in the highest regard has to be lived out in the lowest regard as well. So there really has to be a balancing throughout the world. This balance has to come about. It's a balance within consciousness and how we are with each other and how we are with ourselves. Do we honor ourselves in the first place? It all begins with self-love, self-appreciation. And from there, we're equipped to deal with anything that comes our way. And of course, we love human design because it gives us some very, very clear tools how to be so clear inside ourselves that doesn't matter what happens, nothing phases us, because we see I have the tools, whatever it is I need to be able to deal with this situation. So let's go on to the full moon. Huh?
Okay, yeah. So the full moon happens the 13th of October. I think that's a Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. And full moon at 20 degrees of Aries, opposite, of course, the sun at 20 degrees of Libra. So the sun and the moon are always going to be exactly opposite at the full moon. It happens on Sunday at 2:08 p.m. Pacific time, for those who are interested in the exact moment when we have that full moon.
PM.
Did I say AM?
Yeah, no, PM. It is PM. It's the afternoon, isn't it? Pacific time.
Yes.
So over on the East Coast, it'll be
5:08.
Early evening, and in Europe, they'll get the full moon.
Yeah.
It,
They'll be able to see it.
Lightening
It
up
happens
the sky.
during daylight for us in America. So.
Yeah.
But it's still happening. So it's an energetic phenomenon, whether we can see it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And what the full moon does is it brings to light all the factors in our lives that and in our relationships that need to be brought into balance. So it takes the seed that was begun at the new moon and the activation of it at the first quarter moon, and it brings everything into full bloom. It says, all right, here we are. Here's the whole, array of what we're working with now, what needs to be addressed now, and what we need to apply effective action and attention and consciousness to. So the interesting thing about this full moon is it's exactly at a 90-degree angle to Pluto in Capricorn, which is calling for a really deep level transformation. It's a powerful catalytic energy that isn't really going to leave any of us alone. It's going to shake up the status quo. And for those of us who can just flow with that, it's not necessarily a problem actually at all, because transformation always happens. It's a fact of life.
Especially in these times.
The only thing really that we can count on is that things will change. And
there is that factor though. It's a bit like Moore's law with the computer chips. The level at which challenges come is picking up. It's accelerating.
It is, yeah. Because our growth is accelerating.
Yeah.
Right. And really how we grow is through challenges. And is through meeting those challenges in creative and effective ways.
Creative and effective ways, yes.
Yeah. Instead of,
the same old.
Not trying to avoid them. Which is a little bit like trying to avoid the eventuality of death. It's not going to happen because they're built into the program. The challenges are built in.
It's the only guarantee in life.
Well, change is the only guarantee in life.
No, death.
Oh, death, yes.
You start the thing up, it's got to stop at some stage. But while we're here, we might as well have a good time. Might as well celebrate.
Right. And so to that end, the cool thing about, although we're in this intense challenge with Pluto to, death and rebirth, to transform, to let go and rise into a whole new light of a way of being, we also have Jupiter in Sagittarius forming beautiful aspects with the sun, the full moon. So it's giving us this vision for our future expression, for things that we could be learning, things we may be teaching. That is a highly inspired vision for the future. So while we're going through the throes of letting go of the old, Jupiter brings the sort of preview of coming attractions that we can get excited about and see, oh, this is where we're going. This is what we're headed into. So remember, if you're dealing with challenges, which we probably will be, and I think that we'll be dealing with challenges on the world scale. I mean, certainly the political scene is all heated up by now, really heated up. As in America, we start to get the lineup for the people who are going to be challenging the next presidency, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one thing going on in the world among many, many things. So what can we extract from all of that for ourselves? We can do our personal work. We can do our personal awakening. We can make our own unique contribution. And because we're either, as it's been said, we're either going to be a part of the problem or a part of the solution. Which is it? So this is the time to make that decision. Get off the fence and decide, are you a part of the solution? Roll up your sleeves and then be that. That's what these energies are calling us to. We're still working on making adjustments to the way of conducting business or the way of fulfilling our work responsibilities, and we're refining them by linking our values to our actions, and this particularly in our work. So the other thing going on is that we have this big grand triangle in the sky. So, and that with Venus is involved in it, Mercury very strongly, in Venus and Mercury in Scorpio, Neptune in Pisces, and then the moving soul path for all humanity in the sign of Cancer. So what we're all learning at this time is how to truly care for ourselves, how to nurture ourselves, and what it means to have a balanced life and a well-nurtured life. At the same time, we're getting a challenge from Uranus saying, all right, and so there's the vision. Now, what do you need to change at the core in order to bring that vision forward? So we get clarity with this aspect on how to change the values that inform our actions and our goals, and how to follow our inspiration and therefore cultivate really making very effective changes. That would be the essence of what I see the full moon bringing.
So we've been talking a lot about transformation and change, both personal and on the outside in the world around us. And coming to the full moon, again, what is the fruition of what it has been going on in this month, and how does it really shine out for us? And again, I'm just having a look at where this full moon takes place. And it's in gateway number 51. Gateway 51, it's the gateway called arousing. It's the gateway of shock. It sits in the willpower center in our human design chart. And people that have this gate, when they have this gate on their own, on its own, just by itself, not part of a channel, I always say to them, look, you know, there's a lot of crazy things that are going to happen to you in this life. And you have to get really clever at being able to deal with them, like deal with shocking situations, so that you get to this point where they don't faze you. And it's not like you say, oh, here we go again, you know, another disaster. You say, okay, I see what's happening. Here's a creative way of dealing with it. So it can happen when a lot of crazy things happen at the same time, and we start getting, you know, a little deadened to it all. You know, it's a little bit too much transformation going on. This full moon is going to revitalize us. It falls in the 51 and the 6th line. It's the line that's called regenerating. The phoenix rises from the ashes anew. And basically what it's saying is there's always a way through. There's always a way out. It doesn't matter what it is that happens, what it is that looks like it's completely impossible in front of you. There is always a way through. And the great thing is, you know, when you're confronted by a really crazy situation, or you're feeling in a state of overwhelm, or there's just this tornado of activity going around you, the most sensible thing to do is move back into the center of that craziness. Like, get right in the middle of it, detach from it as much as you can, and move back out of the crazy. And this full moon will really shine a light on it and say, yes, I can find the way out of this. I can find out the way out of any issue that I've got. And the key, you know, this step back into the center of the cyclone, the key is bringing yourself into present tense, bringing yourself into the now, into this moment. And you'll find there's an extraordinary power and presence when you do that, when you come back into the present moment. And so I'll just say this full moon is going to be a great time if you want to have a little quiet time meditating, or just realizing that that center is inside you. It's always there. And this full moon is really going to highlight that. And you'll just feel, my goodness, I can deal with anything that life throws at me. And of course, we'd always say, you know, when you've found that still point, you find that quiet, you know, remember your own type and authority and take it from there. Okay, so moving onwards a little bit.
Shall we move on? So let's move to the 3rd quarter moon in October 21st. So, you know, we had the full moon brings everything that we're working with in this 30-day cycle into full fruition, into full sight, into plain sight. It sheds light on it. By the time we get to the 3rd quarter moon, which is about a week after the full moon, we're at a point now of sort of maximum intensity with activating, with putting into action or expression in some way the things that we came to realize around the full moon were important to do, to express, to experience. So the 3rd quarter moon is kind of that last push to get the cycle done and complete, to get whatever was intended in the cycle to be experienced, to get that actually experienced, and to drive the meaning and the benefit from that experience. So the third quarter moon on October 21st happens at 5:40 in the morning Pacific time, so early in the day Pacific time. It happens at 28 degrees of the sign of Cancer, the moon, in a right angle to the sun, or third quarter square to the sun at 28 degrees of Libra. So what this gives us is the drive to put these new plans that we've had in motion and to get them implemented. So it provides that push, that momentum to actually get into action with it. And we'll sit around thinking about it forever. But are you going to roll up your sleeves and put it into action? Because that's where the rubber meets the road, right? The other thing that's happening at this third quarter moon, Mars is still in Libra at this time, and Mars is not too happy in Libra because often there's indecision with Libra. Well, I could do this or I could do that, and it's always trying to weigh things up and balance things out, and it can have a difficult time being decisive, which Mars is quite impatient with. It wants to be in motion, wants to be getting things done. And that Mars in Libra, with that tendency to indecision, and sort of which can be a kind of paralysis, forms at this time of the third quarter square, the 21st of October, forms an exact right angle with the whole moving soul path for all humanity. And of course, Saturn is involved in that. So, our karmic issues or the things that we've decided, the shadow side of ourselves that we've decided we're going to address, we're going to shed light on it, and we're going to heal it, and we're going to restore it to wholeness. Those things can get really kind of blown up in a way for us to truly see them, like can't avoid them. And there can be a hesitation. And that hesitation can either stop us in action, or we can use that hesitation to give us pause to deeply consider and effectively plan our next course of action, the next choice we're going to be making, which is what we suggest is the better way to use this aspect. Mm-hmm. So, these dynamic aspects that show up as challenges, they move us. They catalyze us into movement. So we either can be like the deer frozen in the headlights, too afraid to move, or we can, feel the fear and do it anyway. Just move, just get in action. Be clear, use your human design to find your clarity. If you don't know how to do that, have a human design reading so that you can really learn exactly how you access your own clarity, but not just learn it from reading it, but from actually having it transmitted to you by one of the world's experts in human design. So you really get to know, because this key is probably the most important key in human design, because making the right decisions in life is truly essential for these very fast-moving times, because a wrong decision can take you off path for a long time and really derail you. So making clear decisions and then effectively implementing the action that must come out of that decision is the challenge of this time of late October. We also have this another big, huge grand triangle in the water signs, big flowing energy, opening us to a lot of divine love and inspiration. This one involves Venus, involves the soul path, involves Neptune, bringing us that inspiration and potentially being the inspiration that guides our path in life, and allows us to align with our truth. So if there's any question about how we align with our truth, simply align with your human design and live that. And that will move you into that place where you are aligned with your truth, and awake to your truth. Of course, we're talking about the latter part of October now. We will be back with you broadcasting again on October 26th which is a Saturday. We always broadcast on Saturdays, 9:30 in the morning, at about the third or fourth week in the month, to give you a little time to prepare for the coming month. So we'll be back then with more information about this particular time, this third quarter moon, and what can transpire from it, and how we can use the energies effectively in what's current for us then. But it's a great time for you to see what else needs to be done in order to move you forward.
So looking at the human design perspective, as we're leading up to this, what Carola is calling the third quarter moon on the, what is it, the 21st of October.
Well, astronomers call it that too.
Fair enough. So, well, you know, it just has a significance. It's halfway between a full moon and the new moon again.
Yeah, turning point.
So what is happening as we lead up, or should I say lead out of the full moon, is I've talked a little bit about this entrepreneurial energy that's just been kind of pushing on us, or just reminding us, you know, there's something in us that really wants to come out and play or be involved. And as we come up to this third quarter, out of the full moon, we have this combining energy that actually reminds us, you know, here's a target. You know, here's what really could happen from this volition, from this movement, from this entrepreneurial push that wants to come out. There really is something that can come out of this. And, you know, a lot of times putting something in motion, you've got to get rid of things that aren't really contributing to it. You know, you've got to get a really clear perspective. This is what I really, really want. You know, and everything else is superfluous to that. So coming out of this full moon is going to be a lot of energy around that. We're all going to get access through this channel, the 4426, which is a fascinating channel to me because it's entrepreneurial. We call it enterprising. You know, that all these new ways of dealing with things can come up and become very present to us. And the outcome of it is like we really get a connection to finding out what we really want, what has value for us, and can make it come to pass, or put it in motion so it can all start happening for us. So Pluto is in the last few days now for the next 250 years of being in gateway number 54. And, you know, it's on its way out. It's going to come back into the 61 and challenge us all, you know, for the next 3 years. What is our personal truth? What is the truth? How do we connect with the truth? You know, all of us are looking to try and find what is truthful here, what is really going on here, what is the essence of life. And so we have this last little drive to really kind of put out something special for ourselves, or acquaint ourselves with what it is that's really driving us, where we want to step up, where are the connections we want to make in life. So very, very powerful time like that. And so there's also this lot of energy around healing, well-being, you know, these planets. You're saying Mars in Libra, you know, to me, Mars in Libra is all about, you know, bringing about a balance in how we do things, but also, you know, Libra in terms of astrology makes up all the gates that we see in the spleen center in the human design. And the spleen center is all our awarenesses, you know, and sometimes we need to polish up our awareness a little bit, you know, sharpen it up and raise our level of intuition and you know, be more sensitive to our environment. And to do that, you know, it basically means really cleaning up our act physically, you know, getting the body really clean and clear and fit and healthy and well. So a lot of energy around that, around this third quarter moon. And as we go on towards the end of the month, we come up to the new moon at the end of the month. What is it, on the 26th, is it?
27th.
27th. And, you know, again, it's always fascinating to see where does this new moon take place. And it's in gateway number 28 this time or other. And this new moon in the 28 in the second line, 28 is this gateway. You know, somehow we've come to call it the game player. And I kind of see that and say, this is the gateway of celebration. How do we celebrate with life? How do we play with life? How do we recognize that life is such an amazing gift for us? And the life theme at that particular moment is the life theme we call the unexpected. So I would just say, you know, with this new moon, be aware of the possibility of really celebrating as we come to the end of October, as we're about to go to Halloween, which is one of the biggest parties on the planet. You know, great time to celebrate and to join in with people and, you know, do the ridiculous. if you will. Like really celebrate the ridiculous and enjoy it. And realize, we've come through a lot. There's more to be done. It's not like November is going to be dull. But, just to kind of conclude the month and have that opportunity to celebrate. That's the essence of what I'm seeing here.
Beautiful. So, of course, we will be broadcasting again on the 26th. We'll just dip in just really quickly to the new moon that happens on October 27th, so we can close out the month and get you all that information. So new moon in Scorpio. What's happened, of course, the sun has moved into the sign of Scorpio. And as it does that, there's a whole new theme playing. As the theme in Libra was about finding balance and concordance and agreement and aligning things properly. And the energy of Scorpio is about massive transformation. Like, all right, now it's time to take all those issues or qualities or old experiences or old meaning that we attach to experiences and just put them in the fire and watch them burn. And that's Scorpio. It's the fire of transformation. It's dramatic. And it doesn't hurt that the new moon on the 27th happens in exactly opposite the planet Uranus, which, remember, that's the planet that stirs things up, that often uses shock to awaken us to something more playing than our personality and egoic desires, that there's something higher and other parts of our being to access. So
you could say it's a new moon and a full Uranus.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, exactly. So the new moon is going to have that seed of Uranus in it. So, all right, it's about transformation and it's about radical change. It can bring a revolution and shocking kinds of awakening. And when I say revolution, I mean an actual revolution could happen. We have those elements in our culture at the time. There's a lot of restlessness and unhappiness in the world culture at this time. But also a revolution in our own life, out with the old. And sometimes there needs to be this shock in order to move us into awakening. So if there's things that happen that are shocking for you and that are sudden or unexpected, instead of fighting them or resisting them or bemoaning them, lean into it and say, wow, what is this here to teach me? Because when you do that, you'll be using it really effectively. Mars in Libra, in the middle degrees of Libra, as I said earlier, not totally just thrilled to be in this sign, but it's chugging along. It does come on the new moon, October 27th, to the exact right angle with Saturn. And what that can lead to is either being completely frozen by fear or totally stopped by indecision, or we find a way through that. So we come right up to our fear. We come right up to that story we tell ourselves that we don't know and we can't decide, and the opportunities to break through it. And we've got everything we need to have that breakthrough, but we do have to choose it. We do have to say, I choose a breakthrough, instead of choosing to be hovering in fear. So that's the big challenge of this latter part of October. And, the message is really to follow our higher inspiration. Neptune interacting there saying, okay, so yeah, all that's going on and it's challenging you because we need to be challenged, because we need to awaken rapidly and completely. And Neptune is saying, here's the vision, here's what you're moving towards. So don't think that this is all a trial or difficult. The real difficulty is in our resistance to it. We actually create it for ourselves.
Is it called getting in your own way?
Well, it can be called that, yes. So, letting yourself use the catalytic energies of late October to make big decisions, to have a revolution in your own life, to allow the transformation to happen, so you step into the new deal that you're going to be creating for yourself, whatever that is, in your business, in your personal life, in your family life.
Very good.
Yeah, and we're here to be of assistance here at Human Design for Us All. We and our amazing team to support your awakening, to support your growth. We have a multiplicity of programs that you can look at on our website, humandesignforusall.com, humandesignforusall.com. Go and take a look. If you haven't gotten your comprehensive report, that would be your first step. And also, Human Design, Discover the Person You Were Born to Be, the book, now out in 14 languages, going around the world and planting seeds of awakening in many, many, many different cultures. Take a read through that, start to work with your design, and then if you feel inclined, we offer classes, coaching, mentoring, and various levels of support, readings, personal readings, to really support you in your awakening process. We're here for that, and we'll also be here for you again. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I'm just wishing everyone a really fun end to the month of October, and we'll see you again 26th of October
on the 26th,
and take you through into November and on into that whole season as well.
Yeah. All right. Many blessings. See you next month.
Bye for now.